going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Mean Streets, powered by FTN, presented by Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you. Thanks, as always, for taking the time to hang out here on this Tuesday. Lots to get to on this show. There's a handful of games on the ice and in the association. Of course, I have some NHL picks, some props, some goal scorers, a couple point and assist props for you as well. Hoping to rebound from yesterday. Always talking about the good, right? Sometimes we don't spend a lot of time on the bad. We need to kind of just reevaluate everything. What went wrong yesterday? What went right? We'll talk about that when we do talk some NHL. We will have that a little bit later on in the segment. Mean Streets, we'll talk some picks, we'll talk some props, all that good stuff. We did get a couple goal scorers. We got Roope Hintz to score. Chris Kreider. Felt like cheating to give Chris Kreider. He now leads the NHL in goals with 30. The first to get to 30 this season. Not Alex Ovechkin, who's right there at 29. Not David Pastrnak. Not Austin Matthews. Chris Kreider. Having a heck of a season for the New York Rangers. We did get the Rangers. We had the Golden Knights as road dogs. We did get a couple things, right? Minnesota to win by 2. They spanked the Habs 8-2. Colorado to win by 2. We had that as well. We did not get the under in Boston and Anaheim. Not even close. That crushed us. And a couple shot props we didn't get either. We had Roope Hintz stuck on 2. And spoiler alert, I am going right back to him again as the Devils are in action against the Dallas Stars again. So we'll try to regroup. Yesterday, overall, I thought was a pretty bad day. I think only 2 or 3 of the shot props. Joel Eriksson Ek I gave you guys, but, books didn't have him anywhere. So what good was that? We didn't get that one, even though he did have 4 or 5 shots in that game yesterday. So we'll try to regroup. We got some sides and some shot props. And again, we'll attack some goals to see people hanging out here as well. I love it. We're going to talk a lot of golf here on the show. We got Bryan Decorte of FTN Bets, FTN Daily, FTN Fantasy. He's going to drop by here in the next segment. A couple segments with Bryan. We're going to talk about the Farmers Insurance Open, which gets underway tomorrow. I guess they don't want to compete with Championship Week on Sunday in the NFL. I kind of get it. I think it's silly. Just get a second TV, right? I mean, just have a second TV. And not everyone can have a second TV or time to watch all of that stuff. I totally get it. So we're going to help you out if you're in your golf pools. You're looking to make a couple wagers. We're going to get an outright winner, maybe some props. Books have been slow, not just in the NHL, to release some of the shot props. I'm having a hard time here in the morning to get actual prices when it comes to NHL shot props. And just chatting with Bryan a little bit this morning, books were slow to release some things as well. Of course, we have the outright winner odds, but Bryan is so sharp when it comes to props and matchups as well. So going to attack the Farmers Insurance Open with him, talk a little DFS, and also get a survivor pick from him as well. Selfishly, I need one. I just advanced. Man, Sunday was a complete sweat job. Having the Rams on the money line and watching them blow that and then find a way to win. I to be honest, I was not feeling the Rams when they gave that up. It's like we've seen the story before with Tom Brady and then Matthew Stafford under pressure. I thought he was just going to crumble. And then all the turnovers that the Rams had in that game, it just seemed like they were just trying to give it away to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just sweated that one out. And then Adam Hadwin birdied the last 3 holes and 4 of the last 5 to make the cut by 2. In my survivor pool, I need to have a guy move on, just make the cut. I know, and it is really, really tough. And I think like almost 50% of the pool is done here in 2-3 weeks of the PGA season. So I selfishly need Bryan's help, but he's got a lot of picks. We will probably cool it on the NFL talk today. We'll dive back into it tomorrow. I got Brad Ziegler, a former baseball player and a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, also my former co-host over at The Athletic. Had a podcast with him and Jake Seeley for a couple years. He's a super sharp football mind. He's a very sharp college basketball mind as well. I know he likes the Jayhawks. I am as well a Jayhawks fan, so we may talk a little bit about Kansas. A big win yesterday against Texas Tech at the comeback against Kansas State a couple days ago. So it has been a hell of a week for Brad Ziegler. He's obviously his Chiefs on the edge of his seat with that game. I was talking to him a little bit last night after we had Ochai Agbaji, who went off last night. I think he had a career high 37 points. He was phenomenal last night. He had the game-tying 3 in overtime to send it to double overtime. I talked to Brad a little bit last night. He said his voice is completely gone. We planned for Thursday. We got to push it to Friday because he says he has no voice at all as of now. But Ziegler is an absolute stud, super sharp mind. It's going to be a lot about Kansas City. He's gonna come in here being a little bit of a homer, right? It's okay. I'll talk up the Bengals with him for a little bit as well. But he's going to be a great guest, and I'm looking forward to talking with him. And as I mentioned, Brian is hanging by, and Tino Rodriguez, producer Tino, is going to join us in a little bit. Of course, we are going to talk a little NBA, maybe some college, maybe some NFL as well. We'll have Tino on, and we'll talk up some sports. We'll hit up all the sports. I wanted to kind of start this show with just mentioning Barry Bonds for a second, right? Today's the day that we'll find out if he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. This is it. This is the last kind of shot for him, the 10 years. He needs 75% of the votes. I don't think it's going to happen, and I just think it's silly. I think he should be in, honestly. You know, if you asked me 8-9 years ago, I think I was on the fence saying, no, I don't feel like he probably should get in. But, you know, just looking overall at everything and just taking everything in, I mean, it's not like there aren't any players in the Hall of Fame that you know, took PEDs, right? Like, it's clear there are. And you could say what you want, that, you know, he never failed a drug test or whatever. But at the end of the day, this guy should be in. And I thought Jeff Passan wrote a great piece today talking about the reasons he should be in, and, you know, just explaining maybe if he were to get in, explaining just the steroid era in baseball. It's part of the history. It really is. There's a ton of players in the days of McGuire and Sosa. I felt like it saved baseball for a lot of people, that home run race, and then the season with Bonds, and, you know, leading the league in homers and the record, and the 73. He is baseball. He's the king of home runs. I mean, he was killing it before he did steroids anyways, and I'm allegedly saying this. I think we all know. But honestly, I mean, 762 bombs, 7 MVPs. I got some other stuff down here too. He led NL in on base percentage 10 times. Nobody walked more than him. He was unbelievable. A combination of power and speed. He was great towards the end of his career, and nobody would sign him. Nobody would take him on as a you know, just a 1-year deal. I think it's silly. I think he should be in, right? I really do. If you were to explain, say we were to go into the Baseball Hall of Fame with somebody who really doesn't know anything about baseball, and you were just to kind of tell them the history of the game, and you were just to have a conversation like, you know, when he starts asking questions, he or her starts asking questions to you about, you know, just the game itself. You're in the Hall of Fame. You're saying, well, okay, well, show me the guy who has the most hits ever, you know, in baseball. Oh, no, well, he's not in the Hall of Fame. You have to explain, you know, Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame. You know, bet on his team to win games. Not in the Hall of Fame. All right. Well, show me the guy who has the most home runs. Like the home run king of baseball. Show me him. Barry Bonds. Nah, he's not in the Hall of Fame. Well, show me like one of the best strikeout leaders of all time. The third most strikeouts of all time. Roger Clemens? Yeah, he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's not there. Like, it just seems silly, right? You preserve the history, have him in. Like, just, I know it's not going to happen. I feel like I've really changed my tune over the past few years, and this guy just should be in. And he's not going to get in. It's crazy. I'm just leave it at that. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts. I tweeted a poll earlier on, and it just felt like a silly poll because I think a lot of people are feeling like me too. Like 87% of the people do believe that Barry Bonds should be in. I've seen some people here too, really kind of feeling the same way. And Tino, you're right. I mean, we can talk about it when you jump on, and a lot of people were doing steroids in that era. I think baseball just has to embrace it, what happened. I know a lot of people are hard on that. Like, he cheated, he shouldn't be in. I get that point as well. But again, baseball, I feel like, should preserve the history and just let it be known. Like, it's not a secret. You could have it on the plaque. That could be part of it, but here we are, 9 minutes in. I've talked a lot about Barry Bonds. We're going to take a break. We're going to leave it at that. I think today is the final day. So I think we will hear a little bit later on about Barry Bonds potentially, most likely, not getting into the Hall of Fame. We're going to switch gears, talk a little golf. We've got some NHL to talk to as well. Bryan Decorte is in here next. We're going to talk Farmers Insurance Open Picks, DFS plays, you name it. A whole lot more to get to here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on a Game Plus Network. We bring in Bryan Decorte of FTN Bets, FTN Daily, FTN Fantasy, Axis_DFS right there on the Twitter machine. And Bryan, congratulations to you, my friend. I failed to mention it off the top, but up for Golf Writer of the Year, FSWA nomination. Dude, that's unbelievable, man. I'm so happy and so proud for you. And congratulations, man. I think that's fantastic news.
Thank you. You as well for this show. So glad I can be joining again. Talk a little golf.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So a day early. This is weird. It's kind of
Right.
throwing your whole routine off. It's throwing my routine off a little bit. We've only
It
talked
is.
golf for 3 weeks, but you are the one who's always like diving deep into the numbers and the statistics and finding an edge and stuff like that. How is this week gone for you so far and putting together some of your picks?
I wish I had my extra day back. The sports books, they were obviously aware that this was happening, but some of them decided not to roll anything out anyway until about this morning, mid-afternoon. So we'll get it all out there. There's some in the bet tracker already. This is a great week. Farmers Insurance Open goes to Torrey Pines out in wonderful California. Stay with the sunny views for us in cold west. So could be worse, but.
So what are you and Jones going to get together tonight to do your podcast? Is correct?
Yeah, it's going to be a full doubleheader. I believe Alex and Jeff are going to do their show first at 7:30, and then Matt and I are going to follow that up for even more golf talk. So just packed this Tuesday.
All right, I love it. So let's, Tino, you got the odds. We'll talk the top of the board. We'll work a little bit deeper, and we'll get some plays here from Bryan. So no surprise to see John Rahm. I suppose Bryan Rahm is just going to be at the top of the board all year long. Plus 650. Justin Thomas in there, 12-1. You got Xander Hideki, who's fresh. Well, not fresh. A couple weeks ago, he had a masterful putting performance, which is a little bit surprising. You got Berger on here, Scheffler, Sam Burns, DJ. We're going to see some DJ here. Bryson DeChambeau at 22-1, and then Tony Finau as well. I was talking a little bit about my survivor pool and how I've talked to you about this as well, but how you need to have somebody to make the cut. And it was looking like Finau wasn't going to make it, and then all of a sudden he was just right there, and I had one as well with a strong finish. But we're looking for maybe some outright winners. Is there anybody that jumps out here? I mean, Dustin Johnson at 22-1, it seems pretty appealing to me.
Yeah, so Dustin is the only one on this particular page that I have bet at DraftKings 22-1. Now, there are a lot of guys on this page who intrigue me, like Xander. It's just the number, right? Like, I think a lot of these guys can play well here. Obviously, Rahm, you mentioned off the top, he's going to be around this number pretty much all year, barring some sort of wild, I don't know, injury or forgets his clubs in the parking lot. But yeah, DJ at 22-1. I made him close to the number, but I just like him out in California. Historically, he plays very well here in California, that is. He has some solid finishes at the Farmers Insurance Open. Hasn't won it yet. This is probably the course. I don't know. It seems like it should all fit together for him. He hasn't really putted that well here, although he's shown to putt very well on POA surfaces in general, if you like to look at that type of thing. But like distance is king here at Torrey Pines. This is a large course, even the North course. So they play rounds 1 and 2 at the North and South courses, and then 3 and 4 they'll play at the South course. So it is split up in the early goings. Note that for your showdown lineups. But yeah, DJ, he always feels like he should play well here. Like, of course, history bothers you. Sure, I'm sure it means something. It's hard to quantify sometimes in my mind, but like Tony Finau is a great example. At the Waste Management Phoenix Open, had played horribly there for years, and it's like he should play well here. And then he finally got a second place. So like sometimes it just doesn't all come together. I feel DJ should play very well here. It all lines up for him. So the 22-1 number, I think is we haven't seen him in a while. He hasn't played since the CJ Cup last fall, so perhaps the market's a little hesitant. I'm not sure, but hopefully it's a DJ week.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, if there's any, concern that you had about him not playing well. Obviously not. But do you think, we'll get into DFS in a little bit, but do you think people would think like that when putting together some of their lineups, like that there may be a bit of rust with this guy, that they may shy away? Like, what do you feel like his ownership would be like here heading into this weekend?
Yeah, normally it is a narrative that comes up every year in the beginning of the year. Like we talk the Century Tournament of Champions, and then Sony happens, and it's like, all right, well, you need to play. Like someone's probably going to win who played last week. Well, most of the guys who played the week before were winners, so they're good golfers to begin with, and they're in the Sony field. There's a little correlation there probably, and then you get to the American Express last week, and it's like, oh, well, again, it's not a very strong field, so a lot of guys have played Sony or Tournament Champions. I don't know. They're professional golfers, right? I know DJ has that not caring whatever about him, but like I find it very hard to believe he hasn't golfed all fall.
Right.
You can go look at his story. He's had a long career. You can go look. He's played very well out of the gate before. I'm not overly concerned that, if he goes on to not play well, I'm sure that'll be pointed at, but I don't think that would be the reason, just based on what we've seen, especially from these elite guys. Like, I mean, if that was the case, you'd see it more. Like they take breaks throughout the year randomly. Like I think they all have their system. He knows this event's been coming up. I doubt he's just showing up to Torrey just, oh, well, I guess I should hit a club this week. So that's my take on it.
It still kills me that no Tiger, right? Like Torrey, it just always reminds me of Tiger. Of course, we have to adjust and move on. But I'm a guy, obviously, and you knowing the following golf for as long as you have. I mean, Torrey Pines and the Farmers Insurance. This is usually it, right, for Tiger. Did you think about Hideki at all? You mentioned power. I feel like power and precision from tee to green is something that you're looking at, this week. And Hideki, I think he's an interesting bet too. I know he just won a couple weeks ago when he took the week off here, but what are some statistics and keys that, that you are looking for here for, just this tournament?
I mean, distance is king here. Like when you get off the North course and you have to play the 3 rounds at the South course, it's one of the longest. It might be the longest. I'd have to check on tour, like regularly on tour. And I was going through some data earlier, just pulling numbers back from 2018 to present. And Patrick Reed's the only winner here who's below tour average in driving distance. And there was only 5 top 10s below 290 yards. So, I mean, it pays to just be able to pound the ball. Hideki fits that. Hideki has played well here before. It was more of just a number thing for me. Like there's just so many guys who I really would not be surprised who set up well for this course. And they're all at the top, right? You got your Roms, JTs, Schauffele, Byrne, DJ, Berger, Bryson. Like none of those guys would shock me. And I think that just sucks up a lot of the win equity. So when the books put out these lower numbers, it's just hard for me to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like, will you ever bet Rom at that? I mean, it's not like it's a bad bet, but at those odds, like, what's the point? Maybe you can put him into some sort of parlay with other like hockey games or NBA games to kind of make it, maybe more worth it. But are you ever going to bet Rom when he's like 6-1 all year?
No, I made him 7-1 ish. So I'm right there with like, that's just not enough for me. I think like you said, the way you can get Rom, like I got him at the Century Tournament of Champions in a group wager. So like a FanDuel or a Draftkings will offer 5 guys in a group. I think sometimes you can find some value there. Maybe you can catch, like if you're really, really looking, like the top 40 on him at one of the books was like minus 290, which is a big number, right? But I think that is close to, I think I made him closer to like minus 350 or 360. So you could pull that. And like, if you really want, again, you're eating a lot of juice, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad bet. Like, don't be afraid. Sometimes people don't like betting heavy favorite stuff, and it can still be a valuable wager.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. Tino and Brendan Gilden are having a fantastic conversation, a debate back and forth about steroids and Hall of Fame baseball. But he's on the ball here for us. We got Leishman up at the top. Man, I really like Willie Z, man. I know I joked before on this show, and a lot of people have about, he looks like Happy Gilmore's caddy and stuff. But man, I just think that this is a guy that's on the rise. I just get a lot of enjoyment watching him play. Koepka's on this list at 35-1. Jordan Spieth, McNeely, who you talked about a couple weeks ago, Matthew Wolff, who had a rough go last week, Patrick Reed, who you just alluded to as well, Gooch, we've had some fun on the show, and Corey Connors, who let a lot of people down in that survivor pool I brought up a little bit later on. But yeah, for Reed, 5 straight top 25s here, including a T19 at the 2021 U.S. Open. So as we're digging a little bit deeper here, who are some guys you're willing to take some shots on? I see George saying Brooks and Bryson on roids.
Yeah, so yeah, get in the baseball chat there. So you mentioned Willie Z, and I wish I could credit whoever I just read this on Twitter. I was cramming right before I joined here. They mentioned Willie added an extra inch to his driver. I think it was last week or this year, and added about 10 to 12 yards, which again could be huge this week. So I'm curious to see his driving as it continues through this year. I'll try to find that tweet and retweet it so I can give credit to whoever that was. But I did find that to be very interesting. Zalatoris is very big on statistics and analyzing his game and doing mapping things out, like just taking the best approach to the game. So I feel like he will be someone I'm very interested to see how his career progresses, especially with how poor the putting has been. Like, I'm sure he's working on it. So if he can flip that switch, and then Sungjae Im is rounding into form greatly. I think he's definitely worth a look as well, around that 30-1 number that you guys just showed on that board.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the 61 on Nick Torney, but, the T6 last week, but you're right with the putting. I was looking, he finished T7 here last year, so that's not bad. But yeah, I mean, an extra 10 to 12 yards. I mean, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but dude, I mean, that is
over time, right? Like, it's those small edges you're looking for. Like, it's fractional stroke wise per hole, but it all play 72 holes, it all adds up, right? So, and maybe at Torrey, the putting, like, it doesn't, as long as he's not just completely horrendous, right? This isn't going to be a winner at minus 22 this week. He's not going to have to make everything he looks at. He's just going to have to avoid the big numbers, right? Take the birdies on the par fives and the easier holes, some of the drivable par fours that are out there. And, just try to get to that 14, 15 under. I mean, that would be outstanding. I mean, that'd be low. That'd be a low score here too. Like, Torrey doesn't typically give up just huge weekends. So.
Right. Yeah, it's not like what we've seen over the past couple weeks to start this PGA season off. All right, Brian, hang out for one more segment, dude. We'll switch gears. We'll still talk some golf here, but I want to get your thoughts for DFS, and I want to get a survivor pick out of you too, right? We got to talk about that weird little survivor pool, and I know the host of that survivor pool is watching this show, so we got to give them some tips. Hang by. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and Bryan Decorte of FTN up for Golfer of the Year, Golf Writer of the Year. I think that's just phenomenal, dude. Axis_DFS. I was just taking a quick peek over at FTNBets.com. All kinds of picks in the bet tracker. If you are looking to be part of the FTN fam, head to FTNBets.com/pricing. You can use the promo code Mean Streets, save yourself a little bit of cash, but you get all the picks from everybody. You get access to the Discord channel, have conversations with Brian about bankroll management, some players that he's feeling. He'll get in there after each round and kind of give you a little bit of a feel of how maybe things have changed and whatnot. And again, you just don't get the golf picks. You get all the picks across all the sports, and we offer them all over at FTNBets.com. Was there another pick that you wanted to bring up, or you want to get right into PGA? I mean, I don't want to give away all your picks and all your greatness in there, but you do have a couple top 40 picks that I think are pretty interesting, and some matchup stuff. I like that. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, honestly, a majority of my golf betting is not the outright winners. A lot of it is made up from the new props we're seeing at all these different markets, and then a lot of matchups, top 20s, top 40s. And I have some DP World Tour in there, as well as LPGA, when we can get those odds posted at books as well. So those are the three main tours I follow. They'll all be in there. But I mean, really quick, just one more DJ week. I took him plus 100 over Mark Leishman as well in a matchup. If you want to look into that, Leishman has great course history here, but again, I just think the market's not really respecting DJ more. Maybe just because they haven't seen him. We've seen Leishman play early on this year in both tournaments in Hawaii, and again, he's historically played pretty well at this particular course. So I think we found a small edge there with DJ. I'd actually make him the slight favorite in that matchup. So I like the plus 100.
Yeah, plus 100 is awesome for what he can bring in his upside. Over to DraftKings, obviously the top guys up at the top. I'm sure that the one guy you're willing to pay for is DJ. He checks in at 10-3, got Rahm at 11-2, Thomas at 10-9, Hideki at 10-6. I mentioned DJ at 10-3, Schauffele at 10-1, Berger at 10. So those are the guys that are double digits, and then Bryson's just kind of right there at 9-9, Burns 9-7. Is there anybody that you will have in majority of your lineups? It could be a sneaky little punt play, mid-tier price guy. Who are some players that you're looking at for DraftKings?
I do think Daniel Berger's interesting at 10K up top. I don't know what his ownership will be yet. Again, losing this extra day kind of sucks. So we'll have that all up in the optimizer later and update it as we go today. But Berger at 10K, because he's another guy who I just think fits this course pretty well, could play well here, just really hasn't a ton. So maybe he won't get flocked to, with Schauffele right there, Rahm, JT. Berger could go overlooked along with DJ. And then near the bottom, Charlie Hoffman, 7,100 is someone who stands out. We've seen him have decent success at this course for Charlie Hoffman. He has the distance to do well. He withdrew last week, and I haven't been able to figure out why. So that is a small concern. But the fact he's here, he hasn't withdrawn yet, leads me to believe he is good to go. And then maybe another punt down there. Jonathan Vegas, 7,400, let a lot of people down last week. Just wasn't very good at all. But again, he has the game that sets up well to do well here at Torrey Pines. And honestly, like just looking through the past statistics, like if you show up here and you can just smash the ball, historically you've done pretty well as far as like making cuts. And then you just gotta, get a little lucky. But at 7,400, you're really just hoping Johnny V can find the weekend for you. And then the top of your lineups can do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, round 3 was a little bit better than the first two for him.
Yeah.
I think maybe
I used him last week too. It hurt.
I had him as well. But you know what? Recency bias is
Exactly.
totally a thing in DFS. I think over time people are more willing to go back to players
Correct.
that have burned them. But I also feel like the average, PGA, it could be NHL, whatever sport it is. I think the average DFSer is like, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to pick somebody else, and you get some lower ownership there. I think that's definitely a thing. All right, on the way out, you got to help me. Survivor, I know it's a little different. You got to pick a guy to make a cut here. And, I think of people that are playing in those Survivor pools, they try to get a little bit maybe too cute in picking somebody under the radar, but I just want to pick somebody to move on. Give me some advice here. Who would be that guy? I know you like DJ, but who's another guy that you like?
So again, I'd simply be looking at someone who's at least averaging probably 295 to 300 off the tee to start, like to feel safe. And then, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a Rahm. If you want to say, I get saving these guys for majors, but that's also what everybody else does. So sometimes it's huge in these bigger one and dones, right? To collect these big checks when no one else is. You want wins in general. If you feel very strongly, sure, take Rahm. I wouldn't talk you out of it. But I don't know, like guys like Xander, JT, people like saving them for majors. And again, they set up well at this course. There's Sam Burns, who most people like to play on Bermuda greens. So he's someone whose game fits here and the narrative doesn't. So maybe he gets overlooked, and he's been playing the best golf of his life over the last 12 months. Scotty Scheffler kind of falls in that mold as well. Hasn't won. That worries people, but extremely talented. Again, these tougher courses, I just really like guys that I know that can grind this out. And again, you don't have to hit every birdie putt you look at this week. It's not going to be these minus 20s that we've been seeing. So you mentioned Hideki earlier. I really think I would stay at the top of the board. I'm not looking to get, like you said, I think people get too cute in general.
Yeah.
I don't need to go that low down the board. Like, I'm sure there'll be guys who pound the ball who will be brought up, maybe an Aaron Wise, maybe Ryan Palmer. People will think, like, it's not the end of the world to use them. There's 40 events throughout the year, 45 that you'll be doing this for. Like, you can use top 50 golfers every week if you wanted to, like if you
Right.
mixed it up and matched it with who's playing. So that's kind of how I look at these one and done survivor type contests.
All right, we'll give you the mic again just to round us out here. What do you just talk up some of the things that you're going to be doing and prepping here? I know it's a short week, like you said, but getting people ready, and I want to just be able to plug the DFS package. And if you have a promo that you want to share, by all means, you share that. But a lot of great stuff happening at FTN Bets and FTN Daily here over the next 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah, so promo code AXIS gets you 20% off. And with that,
Nice.
with the PGA stuff, I mean, it gets you that to anything, but with the PGA specific, we do a lot of great work here. And I think we've been really shining a light on showdown stuff this year. And I put my projections into the optimizer each day for the showdown lineups, and they're in there for the North and South course as far as that is weighted in there. So it's not like you have to guess at who's playing. Like I've built that into these projections. And then, rounds 2, 3, and 4, we talked about recency bias. A lot of people can't forget what they just saw last round, good or bad. And I think that can lead to a pretty sizable edge in some of these showdown slates. And then we have Alex, who's doing showdown ownership, which you just can't really find anywhere else. So there are a ton of tools. I do content on showdown. So does Matt Jones as well. Kyle Murray's in there, obviously putting his projections and ownership into full slate. It's a full team effort. And I really think we do a great job really highlighting, especially some of these edges that you can grind each day. Like if you have an edge, you should realistically be playing as much as you can or can afford to or want to. Like obviously don't go above what you don't feel comfortable with, but like you should be playing and at least looking into the showdown. Even if you don't like dip your toe into some smaller contests, feel it out. But there are some edges still to be found, and we do a great job of that over at FTN Daily.
Yeah, do you ever? I mean, I've seen it. I've seen the success already. We're just a month in. I know last year very successful, but a great start for the content as well. I'm seeing some green screens in the Discord channel. I just think you guys are, fantastic in answering questions and walking through all that as well. So if you are a new player and you're feeling a little on the fence, you don't know if it's for you, the guys can really help you out. It's part of the package, that Discord channel. These guys are always available to answer any of your questions, and they'll walk you through everything. Congrats again, dude. I appreciate you jumping on this show. I love having you part of the rotation. We'll do this again if you are indeed willing. Good luck. Enjoy the golf. We'll switch gears a little bit. We'll talk some NHL, and Tino's in here next to probably clear the air for picking on Big Poppy for about 30 minutes here. So Mean Streets continues on Game Plus Network. Keep her locked. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on a Game Plus Network. I give myself a little bit of headroom. We'll figure this out eventually. It's only been like a year, right, of the camera adjusting and things like that. We appreciate Bryan for dropping a whole lot of knowledge for the Farmers Insurance Open, which gets underway tomorrow. A little odd, right, not to have Sunday golf? I don't like it. I'm not a fan. You can have Sunday golf. Come on, what's going on here? They're going to wrap up that tournament on Saturday. Okay, well, whatever. We got some NHL picks here. Let's talk some NHL. I appreciate Brendan Gilden really just trying to get people to smash the like button. If you're watching on Game Plus Network, you head on over to our YouTube page. You smash the like button. You have any questions there, I always circle back before puck drop, tip off in the NBA to see, maybe I come off of a play, maybe something happens, we are living in a COVID world where things are happening left, right, and center, and it's hard hard to kind of keep up with everything, but we do, we're pretty active on this YouTube page. So if you can smash a like button, if you can subscribe to our FTN YouTube page, that goes a long way of keeping this show around. So as you see here on the board, not really breaking any news. Usual suspects to start: Hintz, Rust, and Svechnikov. Hintz let us down yesterday, but the shot attempts were really there. He has cleared 2.5 shots in 8 of his past 11, 6 of his last 7. He's got 21 shots on goal over his last 4. Really love that top line tonight. I mean, it's just been one of the better lines in the NHL. We'll talk about it a little bit more later on, but Pavelski and Robertson, I mean, these guys have been phenomenal. The second half of a back-to-back against the Devils, they're in a tough spot, I guess, with the back-to-back and on the road here, but New Jersey gives up a lot of rubber, a lot of quality scoring chances as well, as do the Arizona Coyotes, as Brian and Russ is on this board. And then Vegas played last night. Svechnikov is cleared in 7 of his past 8, and Russ is cleared in 6 of his past 8. So these guys are juiced up as singles, maybe not the way to go, but you put them into a parlay. For example, if you were to put Hintz, Rust, and Svechnikov into a parlay, you're probably looking at plus 350, plus 360. I think that's pretty solid. There's other guys in our bet tracker, plus money guys. We gave Tyler Toffoli yesterday, plus money. Nico Heischer's been hanging around, plus money. Some guys that will be in the bet tracker as better singles, but I wanted to give you guys what I think are some winners here and try to win some cash and make up for a mediocre day yesterday. So that's where I would start with those first 3 guys. I also think Robertson and Pavelski are in play from that Dallas game, but I like Hintz the most. I think he's the safest of the trio. And then Darnell Nurse is finally up to 3.5. Here's a plus money one for you. He's got 19 shots in his last 3 games. He had 5 in his last one, 5 before that, and 9 in the game before that one. He's one of our favorites. We love Darnell Nurse here on this show. And then Tage Thompson as well. He's juiced up a little bit. I think Jeff Skinner is a good single if you're looking for maybe better value as a single one. And Thomas Chabot on the other side as the Sabres will play the Ottawa Senators tonight. But he's cleared in 2.5. He's cleared 2.5 rather in 5 of his past 6 games, 4, 4, and 5 in his last 3 for Mr. Tage Thompson. We'll switch gears here and talk some picks. I also have some goal scorers and some props we'll get to in the next segment. So I like Carolina here to win in 60 minus 130. I was thinking about the over because they've played the over in every game but one in the month of January. They're allowing a lot of goals and they're scoring a lot of goals. They're playing up tempo. They're not really getting the same kind of goaltending that they had from Frederik Andersen in the first couple months of the season. But Vegas played last night. They're a bit depleted. They don't have Max Pacioretty, who is on this road trip, but I don't think he's going to return tonight. No Mark Stone. Riley Smith was just placed on the COVID list. So I really just like this Carolina team. Usually I back the Golden Knights on the road as plus money. I did it yesterday, and I really did consider it today, but the fact that they're shorthanded and got to go into Carolina, I really have a lot of respect for this Hurricanes team. So to win in regulation, improve the odds here a little bit at minus 130. And then Edmonton Oilers, minus 130 as well. This is just a straight-up win. You can get them plus money if you think that they're going to win in 60. Vancouver's still going through a lot as well. A lot of guys on the COVID list right now. They're down to, I think, their 5th-string goalie, and it's not Spencer Martin. We saw McIntyre, I believe, was in between the pipes the other night when they played. They're still without Horvat, no JT Miller, so they're missing some guys. The Oilers finally got a W the other night against the Calgary Flames. It does look like they're going to get Ryan Nugent-Hopkins back in their lineup. They're not getting great goaltending. They're also not scoring a lot of goals, but I got to back them here today. Minus 130, I think, is pretty decent despite them being on the road, but the fact that they're playing a depleted Vancouver squad. And again, giving these picks this early, there is a possibility that some of these Vancouver players could get a positive or a negative, I guess, COVID test, and then they get back into the lineup and it changes things a little bit. I don't think I'm going to come off Edmonton. If you told me that maybe Demko and JT Miller and Horvat would be back in the lineup, I'd say, okay, maybe, but I've already locked it in personally myself. So the Oilers to win. And then the Islanders puck line, and you could get that at plus 115. There was a couple ways I was thinking about the Islanders as they play the Philadelphia Flyers, who lost a 12th straight game yesterday. They're just completely checked out. Claude Giroux is going to be gone from this team here probably pretty soon. I would expect him to waive his no-trade clause and be, to a contender. And no Sean Couturier still here. So I like the Islanders. I was considering the Islanders and the under. They're getting strong goaltending. They go back and forth between Varlamov and Sorokin, and they're starting to heat up a little bit. Remember, this is a team that started off with 13 straight games on the road. They basically lost all of those games. They couldn't get anything going offensively, and they were allowing a lot of rubber. It's tough for anybody to have a 13-game road trip. Are you kidding me? To start of the season, they're starting to get into a bit of a groove now, playing some good hockey. They lost to the Leafs the other night, but they were definitely in that game. I like them here to beat the Flyers. I think you could take the Islanders in the under on the money line, but I also feel comfortable with them to win by a couple. Maybe it's an overtime goal or overtime, an empty net goal or something that we get to the 3-1. You could sweat this out. The Islanders are not a team that scores a lot of goals, but they are pretty stingy defensively. And like I said, they're getting strong goaltending. Florida and the over. I think they bounced back after a loss the other night against the Kraken. They're in Winnipeg to take on the Jets. I like a lot of goals there, despite Hellebuck and probably Bobrovsky in between the pipes for the Panthers. Two strong goaltenders, but, offensively, both squads just have a lot to offer. So Florida and the over at plus 221. The Penguins to beat Arizona by 2. Carolina, as I talked about, the Islanders and Edmonton. That's just straight up picks. Those guys could win, or those teams could win in a shootout or in overtime. You can get that at 5-1 over at DraftKings. We'll take one more break. I got some more props, some goal props, and some assist props as well to get to. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Keep her locked. All right, let's continue the hockey talk and switch gears from picks and shot props to NHL goal scorers, and I have some assists and point props to wrap it up as well. So let's start here with the goals. Actually, we'll start here with the assists. We got Brian Rust for an assist here today. I also like him, as we'll talk in this next little in this segment in the next board here for him to score. But for assists, he's got 4 assists in his last 3 games. He's got 8 assists in 8 home games here. I just think plus money for Brian Rust to get an assist is pretty good value, considering that top line has been so good. Crosby had a hat trick the other night. Jake Gensel's been awesome. Every time, if you look at the 5-on-5 numbers per 60, this line dominates play, and they're at home against Arizona, and they're minus 500 favorites. They have the highest team implied total here today on the board. So Brian Rust maybe to get a 2-point night or something like that as a long shot, but I think he gets an assist. Joe Pavelski, Rupe Hintz, and Jason Robertson are all plus money to get an assist. Honestly, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's been one of the better lines in the NHL over the last 2 months. They seem to hit the score sheet every single game. A good spot here against the Devils. Pavelski's got 12 assists in his last 10 games and 7 assists in his last 5. He should not be plus money. Josh Norris, this is a bit of a long shot, but I like that top line against Buffalo. He only has 8 assists on the season, but playing with Batherson, playing with Brady Tkachuk, I expect this line to have some success. Last time they played Buffalo, I believe it was a week ago from today, that line didn't have a ton of success scoring goals, but they were all over it. I believe Batherson had the lone goal from the Ottawa Senators, but the line was really good. They generated a lot of high danger chances at 5-on-5. Anthony Duclair for an assist. I see you see Mark Am, the artist, for Huberdeau for an assist. He's minus 180 for an assist, so I don't love that, but they have loaded that top line together, Duclair, Barkov, and Huberdeau, so I figured Duclair probably just falls into an assist playing with those two studs at plus 140 in a total that has 6.5. And then Vincent Trocheck for a point here. He's got 5 points in his last 4 games. He's got 8 points in his last 8. He's starting to heat up a bit, playing with Andrei Svechnikov. Those two are in a bit of a groove. Let's switch over to the goals here. before we wrap up. So I also like Russ to score a goal, to have an assist. I think it's a 2-point night for him. You know, he's got 8 goals in his last 8 games, and he's got 14 points in 8 home games here, 6 of them being goals. Jason Robertson at plus 194. I think you could go with Hintz if you wanted to. He's got goals in 3 straight. We hit him yesterday, but I'm going with Robertson, who's got 16 goals in 31 games. He has 33 goals in 85 games. He's got 84 points in 85 career games. He's almost even money for a point here today. That line has been awesome. Robertson is a point per game player. Who really saw that coming? He's phenomenal. He was great with the Kingston Frontenacs too. I mean, he's just a really good player. Batherson to score, as I mentioned. I like that top line. 3 goals in his last 6. He did score against the Sabres on January 18th on 3 shots. Svechnikov has got, he's just been hot. He's got 4 straight games, at least 2 points. He's got 2 goals over that span, 5 goals over his last 8. As I said, they've been playing to the over quite a bit. And then this is a bit of a long shot. I want to go with Leon Draisaitl. I do like Draisaitl to score, but he's basically plus 130 for a goal. That's not fantastic. Puljujarvi, I think he's close. I watched the other night. He had 5 shots, got 7 over his past 2 games, 18 minutes and 21 minutes playing with Leon Draisaitl against as I mentioned, like several times, the Canucks are shorthanded here today and turning to a 5th-string goalie, I do believe. So Jesse Puljujarvi at plus 240 for a goal. All right, we'll wrap up here next. One more segment. We'll bring in Tino. I think he's got some NBA stuff, and I have a feeling we're going to talk about steroids and baseball. So keep her locked. Mean Streets continuing here on Game Plus Network. I just saw David Desharnais got announced to name to Team Canada. Wow, my goodness. We'll talk about that team. It looks brutal. No NHLers in the Olympics, so it is what it is. But Desharnais, Eric Stahl, Jordan Wheel, a couple former halves there on that squad. We don't have time to get into that. We don't have time to really get into the steroid stuff either. If there's time, we can bring it up. We can maybe talk about it tomorrow when Barry Bonds doesn't get in. How about that? NBA, you got some NBA picks for us. What do you got?
I also want to note I have no idea who the person is you just said. So that was just, full disclosure. I was just like, all right, that's a weird way to start this. So it's the day of the threes. We have a couple road dogs. Actually, not a couple road dogs. We have one road dog starting with the 3.5 for the Charlotte Hornets. The Toronto Raptors are playing out of their minds. I don't understand it still to this day. Pascal Siakam is balling, to say the least. But first time these two teams are meeting up, they're both pretty much 500 at home and on the road. I'm going to take the points here. I think the Hornets are a really good team. They've been really, really good against the spread, 29-18. The Raptors have been good in their own right, about middle of the pack 500. Both teams have been relatively decent over the last 5, but I think it'll be closer than I expect because I think the Hornets actually on the money line is a decent play. but we can play it safe, and I'll take the 3.5. Despite both of these guys coming off a loss in their last game. Hornets have won 3 of the last 5. Then we're going to go and pick on your Mavericks, which I love to do. And they handled the Warriors the last time they played them. Handled them. But the Warriors have lost 4 home games. One of them to the Indiana Pacers, which I mentioned yesterday. They lost, but I still don't understand how that happened. So maybe that's why I ended up losing some money on the Pacers last night. But I don't see it happening again. It rarely happens. I don't see it happening again. Spreads at 3.5. Maybe this game will be close as well. The last time they played, it wasn't. The Warriors have played in 2 one-possession games back-to-back. Actually, 3 if you count the 4-point loss to the Pacers at home. So I understand why it's at 3.5. No Clay. He looks day-to-day. Iggy's out. But if you want to play it safe, you can go money line. But I think they should cover this. They've also been really good against the spread this year. Both these teams are good against the spread. So that's why it's making it tough. And we'll go with one more 3 here. And, we don't like road favorites. But I like the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'm not just saying that because they handled the Brooklyn Nets at home. But they beat the Trailblazers the last time they played them. Handled them by 5 points. So they did cover that line in that sense. I expect a lot of close contests here, but the Timberwolves are a better team than the Trailblazers. They still don't have Lillard. McCollum's back. They've been playing better. They've won 4 out of the last 5, but the Timberwolves have won 3 of their last 4, 3 of the last 5, technically, if you want to just go to that. But I like the Timberwolves today. Day of the threes. I think we get some covers all around, but I don't mind sprinkling some money lines if you really just wanted to go those 3 in one possession games and play it safe. You would be getting a dog too, so.
Yeah, Cat has been good. Am the Artist agrees with your picks. He's given the scores for us. 113, 110 Raptors, 108, 104 Warriors, 117, 114 T-Wolves. I like Cat. Cat has been pretty good. Yeah, the Mavs are just they play good defense, and they beat teams where you don't expect them to, and then they lose where you maybe expect them to win. I know they've taken care of Memphis twice over the past week and a half, which not a lot of teams have, but I do agree. I think that they're going to be in tough here against Portland, and Gilden's just trying to he gave you the wink there. He's trying to grind your gears. Yes or no? We got to get out of here. He says 117, 114 Portland. Barry Bonds, you think he should be in?
He should 100% be in. The Baseball Hall of Fame is ridiculous. The voting makes no sense, and there are plenty of people who took steroids in the Hall of Fame. That's all my point to Gilden was. We didn't even talk about Jeff Bagwell. Plenty of guys in. They shouldn't let other guys in that have done it without letting Barry Bonds in. He's one of the greatest hitters of our generation. That's that.
Agreed. Well said. Well said. All right, we're back here tomorrow. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. Have a good one. Cheers.